Number 5 says that a hero takes radical accountability for her actions, especially when she makes mistakes, which means she's honest and forthcoming rather than deceitful. I read a book last year that really impacted the way that I view this, and the book's called Crime and Punishment by a gentleman, a Russian author, legendary author named Fyodor Dostoevsky. And what the book does is that it outlines the psychological ramifications of doing something that you aren't supposed to do. Because what we forget when we intentionally violate what we know is right and wrong, we forget that the punishment for that crime is actually implicit within the crime itself. And when you do something, the result is coming for you. And if it comes immediately, then fine. But if it doesn't, it's coming. And one of the great ideas that I've come across was actually in another essay that Emerson wrote called Compensation. And what he talked about was he kind of paints life as a balance scale, where what you put into it, what you put on your side of the scale, is replicated on the other side of the scale. Or a better metaphor is an equation, and you are on one side of the equal sign, and the whole world is on the other side of the equal sign. And what you put through the equal sign is exactly what you get back. And what he talked about is, the longer the delay between when you put that in and when it comes back, the more interest that it's going to accrue. And his belief was that interest is actually a manifestation of a more eternal law that functions all the time, that is exactly that. And what happens in this book, I'm going to, if you've never read it and you intend to and you don't want to hear about it, this is a spoiler. Maybe you want to skip ahead, but it was written like 100 years ago, so relax. But what the story is about he's about a college student who doesn't do what he knows he's supposed to do. He's not giving his best, and he's miserable, and he's anxious, and he's depressed. And he meets this lender in town that's a terrible person. Everybody hates her. She's selfish. She's greedy. And he makes the choice to kill her because he feels like it'll make the world a better place, and sort of play the role of God, I guess, if you will. And what happens is half the book is leading up to it. He's rationalizing. He's trying to convince himself that that's the right thing to do. And finally he does it. And he get away. And that's the crime. And he gets away with it scot-free. And he just wants to be found out so bad that he ends up driving himself insane. And the girl that he falls in love with convinces him to go turn himself in. And it's not until he turns himself in and he admits he was the one that killed him, and he voluntarily accepts the punishment for that he can set his life back on the right path. And accountability for your actions, that is the path to redemption, because you're always going to mess up. And when you mess up, if you don't take accountability for that, that is always going to be your fault, the quality and the state of the situation. But as soon as you take accountability for it and say that, hey, I'm going to do my best moving forward, I'm going to try not to do it again, then if it's on everyone else involved to forgive you, you don't get to lie and to treat your loved ones poorly and get away with it. You will only create a hell on earth for yourself and your loved ones. And something that people forget is that there's so much freedom in saying I'm sorry. I was wrong, and it's also an incredible tool to keep relationships healthy. To the person harmed, you say, I know I did these things, they were the wrong things, and I'm sorry for that. It's never going to happen again. And if you can find it in your heart to forgive me, I think we can restore this relationship. That is the path to redemption. And even if the relationship's never the same, it's up to that person to forgive you. And that's their own journey. You can't control that. I believe that many of our present problems in our culture revolve around the lack of accountability for actions, especially on the internet. The anonymous nature of a lot of the social platforms like Twitter, YouTube, Instagram allow people to say horrible things to other people that they would never say in real life with no repercussions. But the punishment is implicit in the crime. Very often, those people typing those horrible things hate their lives. So they spew that hatred out onto others, and the punishment for that crime is a continuation of the existence that they hate. the very same existence that they created for themselves. The same goes for people who flip people off or honk the horn or yell at people when they're on the highway. I mean, they obviously haven't embodied this attribute of the hero. You know, I'm on the road quite a bit for my job, and this happens to me all the time. And not all the time, but it happens. And I always just kind of smile and wave, because it's like, this doesn't have anything to do with me. You know, the fact that you're yelling, honking the horn, this person doesn't like the life that they're having to live, and they're taking that out on this person that they don't know, where there's no repercussions for those actions. And I'm just going to turn my podcast up that I'm probably listening to, trying to improve myself, and move on with my life. So a hero takes a radical accountability for her actions, especially when she makes mistakes, which means she's honest and forthcoming rather than deceitful.